All right, we're
Sweet.
recording.
All right. So this is kind of part two. So the first part was kind of a high level 30,000 foot view of kind of supplement nutritions. And we started getting into um, kind of the questionnaires you like running through. I know we ran through my part a little bit and we got chopped off because we went a little long, but what's going into the questionnaires you use, kind of what information are you looking at as you're going through it? Kind of take me through what you're seeing as people, fill this out and give it back to you as you
All right.
first are introduced to them.
All right, let's start with the simple stuff, more for training. And one thing that I like a lot that I wish I could remember who said this, but it was so awesome. It was Cal Dietz. It's Cal Dietz. I feel like I'm always quoting the same people. It's Cal Dietz in his book, Triphasic Training. He says that basically when you train people, you have to train people hard to elicit an adaptation. An adaptation's not going to happen without stress. So you have to stress an organism, in this case, the human body. So first and foremost, you have to train them hard. But once you train them hard, now the other next thing that would arise is, well, how many times and how frequent can I train them hard? Because you can't just beat the shit out of people every single day. You're going to overtrain people. So then it comes to, you have to be a good stress manager. So what I like to do with that is I'll write a workout based off of what I think is good. I'm always kind of looking for what's optimal. So I'm not looking for the most stress. I'm not looking for the least stress. I'm kind of establishing a point of reference, what I think is like an optimal amount of volume in stress. And then I base it off of, I'm trying to see where I can share my screen with you. Where do I do? Oh, here it is right here. Share screen. So I'm going to just show you here. All right. So can you see this Hooper MacKinnon questionnaire?
Yeah.
So this thing is pretty awesome. What this was is they did a study with swimmers in, I can't remember if it was, I think it was Australia, high level swimmers. And what they found is there were 8 questions, and how they scored on this would determine. And they also correlated this with blood work and with like catecholamines and like your immune system and all these things. And what they found was how they scored these questions dictated how stale they were. So I think it was over a certain amount of oh God, I can't remember if it was I think it was over successive weeks. If they constantly scored higher than a 4, then they considered them stale or overtrained. Another word for overtrained. And it showed up in their events when they had, not their training per se, their practice, but an actual event. And so let me give you an example. This guy right here, in case he ever watches this, his name is Brandon Altamere. He's a MMA fighter, a pro MMA fighter in the Seattle area that I'm helping. And I have him fill out this Hooper MacKinnon questionnaire and also take his HRV score every day. HRV stands for heart rate variability. So every single day we look at his HRV score, his resting heart rate, and it also gives you a number on a state of readiness, 10 being the best. I'm not sure if there's a 1. I've never seen a 1 yet. I think I have seen maybe, let me see, a 4, because he does this every single day. So he got a 3. I don't know. Can you see that at all?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he got a 3, and that's god awful. Okay. Maybe there is a 1, but 1, maybe you have AIDS. I don't know. You're in bad shape, So I have him take this every day. So this Hooper MacKinnon questionnaire, can you see this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so every single day. So how fatigued do you feel? 1 is the absolute best score, and 8 is the absolute worst score. So you look at these: how fatigued do you feel? How stressed do you feel? Am I sleeping well? Do my muscles feel sore? Am I enjoying training? Do I feel irritable? Am I being irritable? Are things irritating me? Do I feel healthy? Do I feel well rested? So, I mean, all these are really important. I think these are great questions, and I think this is brilliant, this Hooper MacKinnon questionnaire, even though that it's subjective. So you're looking at fatigue and sleep, and if people are scoring poor sleep constantly, and you're not probably overtraining them, if you're really good at your job and you're managing volume and intensity, and you're looking at all these different markers to dictate how hard you're training them. And you're making adjustments and all the things that you should be doing as a coach, and somebody's scoring really bad. Well, there's a good chance it's not the training. They're not recovering adequately. They're under recovered because of their lifestyle. So their diet, maybe they need supplements. I mean, the thing is with active people, you have all these cofactors that you're going to go through and use, like for things that are in the Krebs cycle or whatnot. And you're going to burn through these cofactors more because you're an active person. So you're going to need more things than a sedentary person, a couch potato, is going to need. So we got him thorn, magnesium glycinate. Honestly, I don't remember if he's taking anything else right now or not. He's young, so I don't want to overburden him by throwing a bunch of supplements at him quite yet. But it's funny, since we're talking about supplements, after reading the Hooper MacKinnon questionnaire again a couple of days ago, just to refresh the all the details in the study, one thing that I think could be really interesting with athletes that train really, really hard is basically giving something to help support their immune system, and maybe even something like some type of an adrenal product that can help with catecholamines, which are basically like stress hormones like epinephrine, norepinephrine, cortisol, cortisone, those things and whatnot. So if somebody is getting stressed a lot from training, and you dampen down those catecholamines, I have a feeling that it could really help their ability to recover and tolerate volume. So that is something I want to do with him.
And what would you give him for that?
What would I give him for that? Let me
Yeah,
see
like
if
what
I can.
supplement?
I love Designs for Health. I've had an account with them since 2006. We had an account with them at the Poliquin Performance Center in Northfield, Illinois, where I worked. That's how I got familiar with them. And after I left, I was able to get an account. I talked to the rep that we had at the time, and I got an account. So I was really lucky, because now people like me, they won't give an account to, you're supposed to be like a medical
Right.
doctor in the medical field or whatnot. So can you still see my my screen?
Yeah. Yep.
So they have this product right here, Catacolacalm. And you can see what they have, phosphatidylserine, ashwagandha, valerian, passion flower, lemon balm, theanine, taurine, some B vitamins and whatnot. And what's cool about Designs for Health, they also have tech sheets, and they have ones for patients that aren't quite, they're in more layman's terms. Like if you wanted to send this to somebody, so the jargon's not, overly scientific, but
Right.
you can read up on these things. And generally that's what I do, because they might have 300 products. And so like for the immune system, for instance, if I were to go in here and I put like immune, right? And the one that I think I liked the most, I think it was actually mushrooms. Let me see. So curcumin, let's see. I believe it was, let me just put in mushrooms in their search engine and see what comes up. Yes, so right here, Mycosupreme. Mycosupreme is a full spectrum blend of 8 mushroom extracts used to support immune health. And then blah, blah, blah. I don't know if you want me to read the whole thing, but there's a lot of mushrooms that are awesome for supporting the immune system and helping with volume. Cordyceps sinensis has a lot of great research on it. Eulithro root has a lot of great research. I think the Soviets were really big on adaptogens. So they weren't just big on anabolics as far as like steroids, which we all know probably, that they were, of course. But they were actually really on the forefront of lots of things that could help, athletes whether it be training harder, getting more out of their training, recovering was probably the biggest one, recovering. And they did a lot of, they've got a lot of great research. If you look up, I don't know if you could do a Boolean search and put in like Erythro root in Soviet Union or Russia or something, you'd probably come up with great information. I remember I've ran into some really good stuff over the years looking that up, but this would be the product I'd probably give somebody to help support their immune system. And keep in mind, this is, it doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to, make adjustments to their training, because I'm being a bit vague right now. I mean, somebody can train too much, of course, and have their intensity and volume up too much for too many, concurrent days. And it can definitely be just a problem with program design and periodization. But I think that if you supported the things that could definitely get affected from training, like, over producing stress hormones, and, the immune system taking a beating because your white blood cell count goes up from all the stress. And, it's funny because they started that study, the Hooper MacKinnon study. I think they started with 19 athletes, but then I think they had 4 or 5 drop off because they had like mono. And that right there is usually caused by overtraining a lot. You see a lot of athletes that overtrain and they end up getting mono. So I got mono once from overtraining.
Yeah.
So I don't know what else.
When you're training your athlete, he comes back with the scores. If he's in a good range, you're like, all right, training's gonna go. We're just gonna do normal training today. If he's a little elevated, do you make any adjustments to his training daily if it seems like it's a little high, or do you kind of give it a few days to see if it's just like kind of a random day?
Yeah, that's where it gets harder, because some of the HRV apps, like what they'll do is they'll have like different colors. They'll have like 3 colors. Like red will be like you're really like, I don't want to say overtrained, but you're under a lot of stress. And then they might have another color right underneath that, like orange, where you're stressed, but it's not as bad as red. And then you have maybe green, and green is like you're really parasympathetic, you're well recovered, your nervous system is recovered. And from what I've learned, like I said earlier, you want to stress an athlete because that's the only way you'll get an adaptation. If you don't train people hard enough, they're not going to get the benefits that they can, because they have to be stressed. But so you want some reds. If you had, that example, that color system, you want some reds. You don't want to see reds and get freaked out every time and be like, oh my God, we got to tone it back, and get overly paranoid about your HRV score or something like that. What you want to do is just over time, notice any correlations and patterns, and maybe you can adjust some of the training. Maybe if you're dealing with an MMA athlete, and they have multiple training sessions, because maybe they have strength conditioning, they have boxing, they have MMA or jiu-jitsu or wrestling or whatever. Trying to navigate all that can be challenging, because you can't have highs all the time, but you do need some highs, and you do need some time to recover. So over time, I think what you can do is you can look at these patterns and correlations, and you can just maybe make adjustments to their weekly training schedule, maybe move some things around. If they are getting too many reds and they're stressed and they feel awful, then maybe on days like that, you might not do anything. You might have a complete, off day, a recovery day. You might do something more like an aerobic based training, where you're just trying to do stuff that you're in the aerobic zone and you're trying to be parasympathetic. And we do that sometimes. And then we just did this last week. And then the guy that I'm talking about, his HRV score jumped up like, I don't know, it went from like 4 or 5 to like 9. So those things help. But in the beginning, it's important that somebody doesn't see reds and get freaked out and scared and think that they have to like do nothing, because you don't want to get so afraid of reds and like training hard that every time you see stress from, the data, that you think it's such a bad thing that you chronically undertrain also. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, for sure. There's got to be some level of like a sample size to it. Like one is not enough. Like one red, doesn't really mean a ton, especially when you're working with an MMA person. I'm sure you communicate with them like, hey, how do you feel? Right.
Yeah.
Like, like it could just be one random day where he's like,
Yeah.
I actually feel good, but he just had a random high, HRV, and it's like, all right, let's just do a normal workout and see where we're at. But if you see 2, 3, 4 reds in a row, is that when you're like, okay,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
something's up here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You should definitely not let that happen. And that's concerning. So maybe yeah, after you talk to them and ask them some questions, like you just said, and depending on what they say, um, you're definitely going to have to tone down the training. And maybe they're getting sick or who knows, but like, that's also where I think that, in the future, the guy that I'm speaking of in regards to the catecholacalm and this Myco Supreme for the immune system, I really do want to give that a try and like see if we notice an uptick in all the scores, if they look improved, and if you get feedback from him and he feels great. I spoke with him last night. I talked to this guy quite often, and he said just in this little bit of training that we've been doing, he feels like way stronger on the mats, which is so cool. It's fun. I love training MMA athletes, but it's tough because they have so many different disciplines and so many different training
Right.
sessions. And so but it's cool because then you have to really use your brain and you have to figure it out. And, there's going to be science involved and there's going to be stuff. And so, it's challenging and it's fun, but, I'm not the best in the world at managing periodization and HRV and all that, but I have some good resources. I think I have a pretty decent grasp on it and good critical thinking skills and all that stuff. And so that's the part that's fun. So, you feel challenged and you feel like you're going to get better at it. But from what I've learned, you want about 2 or 3 reds during a week. But one guy I like a lot when I think of HRV, well, the first guy I think of when I think of HRV is Joel Jamieson. But then there's another guy that I like a lot, Sam Calavita. And I've heard him say some things. I think that guy was like the best math teacher for calculus in like the United States. Like he won awards. I mean, he's super bright. I think he worked for NASA. He's TJ Dillashaw's strength coach. And now, he's doing a lot of work with a lot of people from what I've seen, a lot of MMA guys, a lot of wrestlers and stuff like that. And it's funny. The other reason why I'm bringing him up is because one time I saw something that he was doing where he was checking everybody's VO2 max, and he was checking everybody's. He had a computer for this. He was checking like their caloric expenditure and how well they use fat for fuel and carbs for fuel and all these things. And I bought that thing because of him. I got a picture of it, but I don't want to. Actually, I could try see if I can find it for you because. I wanted to feel kind of like a scientist and do what he's doing because I love data like that. I love that kind of data. The only problem was that it was $10,000. And so
Right.
So you make monthly payments on it. And I got a little bit spooked about the cost. And when they sent the machine to it really looked old. And I was kind of like irritated that like the technology looked like something like a 1988 computer, like all the plugins and all
Right.
this stuff.
Right.
And so I sent it back. But the funny thing is then probably a month later, they came out with a new one and all the things that I didn't like, they fixed. And I didn't get another one. Maybe in the future I will, but that irritated me a little too. I'm like, wow, why didn't you guys that's funny. Can you see? Here's Joel Jamieson right here.
Yeah.
Me and Joel Jamieson right there. I went out there in 2014 and 2015. And yeah, that guy's brilliant. And one of the guys that I watch a lot. Maybe I shouldn't have bothered looking for this thing because
No, it's fine.
we're scrolling through all
Um,
these pictures.
when an athlete comes in, is there anything you like intro workout for athletes?
Like during their workout.
Yeah.
I almost always give us those essential amino acids that we touched on kind of like on part 1, I guess you'd say.
Right.
I do that a lot. If it's super hot, I like this product called Hydration Complex by Designs for Sport because it's NSF certified. It's Electrolyte Synergy is the same product from Designs for Health, same company, but Designs for Health made another company for athletes where they got all the products NSF certified. And here's the machine real quick. This was it right here, right? Can you see it?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. So that's me, of course. And then this
Right.
is like some of the stuff that it did. And there's Juliana Pena. We used it for her to get her VO2 max on my erg bike, which I loved. I think, yeah, here's the machine again with her connected to it. It's kind of cool looking, right?
Yeah.
Like you really, and this is hers, 47.2% for carbohydrates percentage, 52. So she's really metabolically flexible. Carbohydrate grams per day, 237 grams, fat grams, 123 grams. Stuff like this I loved.
Right.
So anyways, I'm bringing that up because we were talking about HRV, and I'm talking, mentioned Sam Calavita. He's super good at that. He comes up with equations and stuff and figures stuff out. And you're like, wow, and so, those are people that I respect a lot in the industry, and I strive to, get better and to be like people that I really respect and admire. Cal Dietz, Eric Cressy, Sam Calavita, Joel Jamieson. I could name a ton,
Right. Are
and
there
the other,
any are there any specific supplements too that you like intra workout? Like if someone, can afford them and they wanted to take a little something, like something for their energy, something for their mitochondria, or something like that.
uh, you know, not, there's nothing I absolutely love, for energy or for the mitochondria. I have tried a lot of things. There's a lot of stuff out there that's good for the mitochondria, and I'm not disputing that, but Mito PQQ is actually pretty good. Let me show you that. I did notice that. Is it Mito? Yeah, there it is right there. So I noticed a little bit of energy. It's nothing like caffeine or a stimulant. So for me personally, that's kind of an issue because I mean, I really need caffeine. It's not good. I
Right.
really
Right.
need to stop, but when I did go on PQQ, I took 3 a day. I didn't, and I went on a carnivore diet too. And I did have a little bit more energy. It wasn't like drinking like a really strong, like pre-workout or anything like that. But in regards to athletes, I've tried all kinds of mitochondrial products, and the problem is and I'm not claiming that they don't work at all, but the problem is when you take supplements, a lot of times you don't feel much, right? Or you might not feel anything
Right.
at all. It's not like anabolic steroids where you take something and you're like, holy shit, within a day or
Right.
two, you feel, strong as hell, and you notice that stuff drastically right away. Like drugs, you notice right away. Supplements, a lot of supplements you'll take and they might work, and I'm certainly not claiming that they don't, depending on the supplement, but it's not like night or day. It takes time, and if you just base it off how you feel, you're probably going to be pretty underwhelmed, and you're going to think maybe
Right.
even like that they don't work. So, not really. I mean, creatine, I like creatine a lot. That's the staples that we use during the workout. If somebody wants to get like crazy pumps, or maybe if if they have a risk for like, I don't know, heart failure, heart disease, heart attacks, whatever, vascular issues. I like a product that Designs for Health makes for that, called NOx Synergy, and you get awesome pumps with that. Um,
That's probably something you could feel immediately, right?
you feel that, yeah, especially if you train
Yeah.
arms. If you train a muscle that you can get pumps rather easily with, like arms, it's pretty amazing. It almost feels like you're on anabolics. I mean, the pumps are
Right.
really awesome, man. But
Yeah.
I think we talked about this briefly last time too for part 1 of this. I'm pulling it up just in case, but in regards to supplements and in regards to lifestyle issues, the other thing that I like to look at is the general health questionnaire that Dr. James Laval made from his book, Cracking the Metabolic Code. My friend Ted turned it into like a Google Doc for me. And, I know you've seen this before because we talked about this briefly also last time, but I have 89 people that have done this, and I deleted a ton of people and they stopped training with me. So I'd probably have 130 of a sample size. I think that's pretty good. And so I can look at all the different categories, you know, blood sugar and insulin, thyroid, adrenal function. That's always real bad for people. Liver and detox, intestinal health, low stomach acid, high stomach acid, small and large intestine function, lower immune function, hyperimmunity. You know, if you have somebody that has an autoimmune issue or something from gut problems, that's on the rise. Environmental toxicity or environmental impacts, and inflammation and oxidative stress. So I'll look at these, and I usually look to see what's the worst one or the worst two, and I just work on one or maybe two things at a time at best, and then go from there.
How often do you have people fill this out, or how often would you like if ideally, how often would you like them to fill it out?
I don't really have a great answer for that. I guess if I had to give you an answer, maybe every 6 months. You know, if it were me, if people like did everything that I told them to do, and it's very rare that I find anybody that does, which is unreal.
It's rare you find anybody to do anything anyone
I
says.
know, dude, and that's really irritating to me because let me just talk about that for a minute too, because people come to me and, you know, they want a certain amount of results, and they, you know, I get them some, but I could get them so much more if they listened. And it's really irritating because I have some people that you think like, oh, this guy's definitely going to listen to me now based off the results I got him. You'd think that he'd be like, hey, anything you tell me for the, I'm going to do, you know, within my,
Right.
you know, within the realm of realistic, and, you know, you're not asking me to do anything crazy. But that still doesn't happen. You know, it absolutely blows my mind. What I would want people to do is like, let's say, for instance, they had a gut issue, and I thought that maybe they should do a food intolerance test. Then let's say I said, hey, Viome has one and it's between $100 and $130. And I know people in the industry. I know this guy, I don't know him personally, but I know this guy named John McDowell. He's a coach in Dallas. He's got a gym, and he was a sprinter, and now he's a high level sprint coach. And I follow him on Instagram, and he did a really good webinar I watched on the foot ankle. By the way, that's on designsforsport.com. If anybody wants to watch that, it's free and it's unbelievable. But that's how I met him. And he did one from Viome, and he said like within a couple of days, he dropped like, I don't know, it's like 7 pounds, and he was already incredibly fit. Yeah. So if somebody did this general health questionnaire, and as an example, let's hypothetically, they had a gut issue, and I said, hey, take this Viome, I would guarantee that you're going to do it. And you're going to see that you have some foods you probably should be, you should steer clear of, that you're probably not in. You're going to learn a lot about what's good for you, what you should eat and what you shouldn't eat. And if you did that, you would see tremendous results. And then the way I like to look at things is when you do these things, you're hoping that you're building trust. And so then they're going to, okay, now I want you to do this. Now I want you to do this. And then what would happen is 3 months goes by, you look way different. 6 months now goes by from the day you started, another 3 months, you look like a different person and you feel amazing. That's what you hope for when you train people for a living. I'm talking more general pop, you know, people that show up and they just want to look good and be healthy and have energy, all those reasons. Athletes is a whole different story because they just want to do good in their sport. And that's, I get it, you know?
Right.
So that's a little bit of a different animal, but basically that's what I do in the beginning to kind of give me some direction on what they should be doing inside the gym as far as volume, frequency, intensity, and outside the gym as far as lifestyle issues, supplements, diet, all that. And then I go from there.
It's great, man. And you can find these tests kind of anywhere, right? Like they aren't hidden behind some wall. The two questionnaires.
What you said, find them anywhere? What would you say?
Yeah, like can you find them like on Google, these documents? So like if someone wanted to take it themselves.
Oh, the Hooper MacKinnon questionnaire?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you probably can. Now you can find the PDF of the study if somebody wanted to read the study. That's no problem. Here's the study also. I know this isn't helpful. Markers for monitoring overtraining and recovery. And where they get the name is because I guess Sue L. Hooper and Laurel Traeger McKinnon, along with these other people, hence the name Hooper MacKinnon questionnaire. Yeah, you could easily Google that and find that and read the study. In regards to finding the questionnaire and taking it and seeing your score, I don't know if you'd find anything for that, but Train with Push, that's the company I'm currently using to write my programs as an app to as opposed to pen and paper or writing everything down. Everything's an app these days. So that's who I use, because what I like about them is I also, especially with athletes, I like to monitor their velocity if I need to train them at a certain speed. And I like to look at power measured in watts in case I need to train for power as well. And so Train with Push has devices that I have at my gym that do that. And so they made a Hooper MacKinnon questionnaire, and that's what I use right here. This Hooper MacKinnon, this is somebody that answered it. And if you look, you can still see my screen, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So if I go to my gym, that was virtual clients. If I go to my gym and let's say who could I pull up? I'd probably pull up pretty much anybody. Like if I pull this guy up, he has the Hooper MacKinnon questionnaire right there. He just hasn't taken it yet. So this is today. So what I do is I'll put the Hooper MacKinnon questionnaire throughout maybe once or twice in the week, because what I'm looking for is patterns. So if you're chronically scoring bad for sleep, we're going to fix it. And again, maybe the first thing I'll almost guaranteed use is a good chelated form of magnesium. Glycinate's probably my favorite. And then that's responsible over 600 enzymatic reactions, magnesium. And one thing I always tell people is magnesium helps you manage glucose better. So if you have adequate magnesium levels, you're going to see your body fat drop as well. So you do things like that, and you're not just going to hopefully see a difference in how you sleep. You're going to also see a difference in other things as well, since it's so many things are dependent on magnesium.
Right.
So here's another guy I train. This guy's a Muay Thai instructor and jiu-jitsu guy. I met him. I've known him for years now. His name's Eddie. And I don't know if he's filled any out recently. You really and here's the thing too. It literally takes 2 minutes, and you're like, dude, this
Right.
takes 2 minutes to fill them out,
Right,
You
right.
get a lot of people that don't. Here's one. Like, look at this guy. Okay, here's him, right? This was back on the 30th of November. How fatigued do I feel? 1. That's great. So how stressed do I feel? 7. That could be just a fluke. He might just be something's going on at work and it's no big deal. But if you check that twice a week and that's not going down, and you keep looking and that's chronically up, you might have to either make sure that the guy's doing some parasympathetic training, doing some aerobic based training on days maybe he's not lifting, maybe manipulating his volume and intensity. Maybe depending on why he's stressed and what's going on, he might be a good candidate for the things we already talked about, an adaptogen, something for the immune system. There's all types of things out there to find out what might be the most ideal thing for him under those circumstances. And the other thing is, since we're going into the winter here, I mean, you really got to be concerned with that as well, because if you're chronically stressed, your immune system could be suppressed, and now your chances of catching freaking a cold or whatever, it's going to go
Right.
up. Nobody wants to get sick. So.
No. Yeah, it's great. And it's so simple, right? Like, it's for something that's that simple to be that helpful for you, man, that's nice.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And then you're just, you're course correcting and making adjustments as you go based off of data that you're collecting. And I mean, I love data if it's useful data. And I'm okay also with I'm okay with not having an answer for every single thing in the beginning, because a lot of people today, I think that they don't understand that it takes a while sometimes to learn about the person and the athlete as a coach, and it also takes a while for you to learn yourself and know yourself if you're making an effort to pay attention. Um, but the good news is over time you're going to learn more, and your training's going to get better and better and better and better. And because there is no perfect, you know what I mean? And people need to be okay with that. And the day we're living in right now, I think a lot of people struggle with that. Like, if it's not perfect, they get so stressed out that they don't want to do anything at all, or they want to wait for somebody's permission to get started, whether it be from a book, from a coach. And it's like, that's not really how it works. You got to get started and do things, and then be okay with it not being perfect. And it'll get better over time based off of, data, feedback, listening to your body, all those things. And that's what I love,
Right. Well, it's the action trumps motivation, right? Like, you're waiting to
Exactly.
get
Yeah.
motivated, but if you wait to get motivated, I mean, maybe you'll get it, but generally you probably won't. So
Yeah.
it's the action. You just got to start, right? And then
Exactly.
you'll
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
getting motivated as you start like knocking off checks of like, all right, I did
Yeah.
this and this and this and this. Now you're motivated to like
Yeah.
keep it going.
Exactly. Yeah. No, you couldn't have said it better, man. People